All right, guys. So I'm sure you've seen already, Creative Assembly have released an announcement basically going into how they're going to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Total War franchise. And honestly, I don't know about you, obviously, personally, I'm very surprised at how late they've left to talking about the celebration. I mean, the end of the year last year, they did this big thank you message going through, the last couple of years have been quite rough. We've been trying to gain some goodwill, making decisions to fix various issues in Warhammer 3 and obviously release Pharaoh Dynasties, a free update to make good on some of our promises and make it a better historical franchise, that game that people expect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And some other changes that are actually were quite welcome. The approach to the blood packs will be different. Total War launcher will be removed. Factions no longer early adopter bonuses. Pre-order bonuses. Really, like, it was a very positive message, really. But the most interesting part of this, of course, was the fact that at the end of the message, we will be celebrating our 25th anniversary of the franchise. Throughout the year, we'll have new free and DLC content for Warhammer 3. We also want to look at the past and celebrate our storied catalog of releases, journeying through each title that has been released since 2000. And yes, we hope to unveil some new projects too at the end of the year. This is like something that they said, alluded to at the end of 2024. And then we basically heard nothing for 6 months. It's well into the 25th anniversary of the franchise. And honestly, I was kind of expecting a lot more. I mean, I think that, as CA, you have a huge marketing budget. You've got lots of brilliant media people, content, producers and writers, etc. Clearly, from all the trailers that they've made. I'm very surprised that they didn't decide to celebrate a lot more. I mean, if it was me, I'd be doing like a Shogun month and then a medieval month, Rome, medieval 2. And I'd be going through each of the games, right up until maybe the moment where you start really ramping up communications about what the big reveals at the end of the year will be. Like, I thought it was going to be a lot more of a proper content program, a full year length of different videos and series and interviews and dev interviews and creator interviews and fans getting involved and all of that to really make the whole year basically a positive drive and celebration looking back at the series. But that didn't really happen, which I thought was a missed opportunity. So finally, something has been announced about how they're going to celebrate all of this, and they released this really nice message. So I want to go through this message essentially today with you and give you my thoughts, let you know what I think. There's some interesting language being used here, I think, and obviously a few things that we can look forward to later this year as well. So that's what I want to get into today. All right, so starting from the top of this message here, we go through a few paragraphs of nostalgia, of tapping into loyal audiences, hot or cold. Total War was born, a vision rooted in history and strategy gaming, making you feel like a commander of a vast empire. Lots of trying to reaching out to loyal fans, loyal customers who've been here for a very long time, and it's definitely hitting the mark. I mean, as someone who started playing with Shogun Total War when I was like 8 years old, I'm definitely here. I'm here to read what the rest of this message is all about. During those early years, Total War's identity formed. Now, this is the first interesting sentence, and this whole paragraph is very, very interesting. The language, how things progress in this message so quickly, and what is said here. During those early years, Total War's identity formed. The team were focused on authentic recreations of the most pivotal moments in human history, from the age of antiquity through to the emergence of the great naval empires, properly recognizing, where Total War came from, how that identity is formulated in, recreating realistic, authentic battling, grand strategy rooted in, really big events in history, whether it's Napoleon or Total War Pharaoh, Bronze Age collapse, etc. Like that definitely hits the nail on the head in terms of where the franchise came from, right? But this next section is even more interesting. As the genre evolved and our teams changed, we expanded into new territory by leaping into the fantastical, meticulously recreating Games Workshop's iconic Warhammer world as a truly unique strategy experience. They never mentioned, Three Kingdoms. They never mention any of the other big kind of, flagship moments in the franchise. They don't do any of that, really. they mention Games Workshop and Warhammer. And they say our teams have changed, our genre has evolved. This is how the Total War's identity formed in the beginning. This is who we are now, is what this is saying. And it just kind of confirms, I think, what a lot of people feel in Total War fandom, player bases, people who are looking back at how Total War started, kind of historical content and games that really do it justice, right? It really confirms for these people who have had a feeling that the current creative assembly is not the creative assembly that made those games, right? The teams have completely changed. The kind of focus, the ethos of Total War has shifted towards what is making them the most money, what is most successful, and it's without a doubt Warhammer and Warhammer 1, not only 1, 2, then 3, trying to apply the same formula and the design that made those games successful into other historical games that weren't as comparable in size or content, really, when you think about it. I mean, Three Kingdoms is probably the most successful. Pharaoh definitely started kind of with a lot of that, I think, when it first released, but obviously Dynasties fixed some of that, some of those issues for free when there was a big backlash, of course. So yeah, but it just the point I'm trying to make here is they didn't really mention any of these other games. They mentioned Warhammer. And it should drive home for a lot of these people who have gone cold on Total War that this is the big thing right now, and this is what's making them money, and this is probably where they're going to continue focusing a lot of their effort. Maybe not all of their effort, but a lot of it. There have been triumphs and tribulations throughout the years, which is probably the understatement of the quarter of a century when it comes to Total War. But yeah, I guess fair enough. We're honored and humbled to be one of the few franchises that get to celebrate such a huge milestone. Yada yada yada. Thank you from all of us very well. Some of you may remember from my update last year, we had plans to celebrate this anniversary in a meaningful way. Our teams are hard at work, fine tuning a program of content that not only shines a light on past games, but builds the foundation for us to begin revealing what we have planned for the future of Total War. And yes, this means the reveal of new games and content. So this language is very interestingly put together, I think. Our teams are hard at work fine tuning a program of content that not only shines a light on past games, so between August and November, they're going to be going through a content program looking at every game that has been released since 2000 with lots of interviews, multiplayer tournaments, developer live streams, etc. So shine a light on all these games, but builds the foundation for us to begin to reveal what we have planned for the future of Total War. They could have said what we have planned, what our next games will be, what we're developing, an announcement of a new title. They could have made it a lot more specific, but they said the future of Total War. That is very broad, and it's very much like things are going to be different. That's what I'm getting from it. I don't know about you, but I read this and I think things are going to be very different for Total War after December. And to me, that's very exciting because, for the last few years since I really started this channel, I've been talking about how Warhammer is going to be reaching the end of its cycle. Warhammer can't be here forever. At least, the current trilogy of games won't be around forever. Warhammer 40K is a very natural next step, of course, if that is something Games Workshop will sign off on, which I'm sure they will. I don't see why not. But I think that CA has, especially with Troy, with Pharaoh, has recognized at least that doing historical as a sort of side quest to your main quest, which is the Warhammer games, is not working. You're losing audiences, you're losing pace. Historical gaming as an interest within your franchise is losing steam too quickly. And there are other games out there that are very quickly replacing that interest. Good games, very good games. You're competing with the Crusader Kings 3s of the world. Manor Lords was an indie game and it had so much hype. I mean, okay, I admit I definitely was very excited about it, and I made videos that kind of hyped it up at certain moments. But a game like that having so much excitement and fervor and investment from players, especially Total War players who looked at it and thought, I've lost hope. I've lost hope with Total War. This is the next big thing for me. Just goes to show how much of a side quest historical gaming has become for Creative Assembly. Pharaoh was certainly that. When they first released the game, it was absolutely not a flagship title, not a wow, this is so innovative, so new. I had no idea, CA was capable of doing this. It was nothing like the last kind of wow games that came out in the series were like Empire. Empire was a wow game. It was like, wow, global map, technology trees, villages that developed organically in the rest of your province that just popped out and you had to like manage them. Like Empire was a wow game. Three Kingdoms, I think, was a wow game. There was a lot of very interesting systems there that previous Total War games really failed to capture and do well. And going all the way back, of course, Rome Total War the original was an incredibly wow game, going from 2D to 3D with the incredible detail, the Senate missions, the agents. Like there was so much that was good about that game. Pharaoh, I think for a lot of people, that was supposed to be that historical that was like, yes, we are innovating now. This is a brand new wow moment for the series. It's here. This is how we're doing historicals. Yay, right? But it didn't happen. Pharaoh flopped hard. It was clearly the executive in the corner of the room saying, why don't we just slap on a new skin on Troy and just sell it as a fully fledged game? And in my opinion, anyway. And, they really had to recoup with Dynasties, I think, completely scrap their DLC program, most of which was developed already to release it for free, basically to say, I'm sorry. And maybe that's a little harsh, but I see that as the reality of the world. This is a company that ultimately cares about shareholder happiness and dividends and all of that. And to be able to do that, you need to keep a loyal paying audience, fans. And if you're losing a lot of goodwill in this pot of people looking for history, you are putting all your eggs in one basket, which is Warhammer, and that's a very large basket, of course, but it fluctuates so much. CA constantly gets things wrong with Warhammer as well, so it's better to spread your eggs into lots of baskets. Warhammer will continue, I'm sure, in the future, but history has to have a much larger focus than I think CA has tried to do in the past. And I think, anyway, this is what this is saying, reading between the lines. We're going to try another wow moment. It's going to be a new game. We've learned from Pharaoh. We've made a lot of mistakes, and we're going to be revealing something at the end of the year that will actually change and show you, what the future of Total War looks like. So yeah, 25 years of Total War will begin with a look back at our legacy, taking place from August to the end of November. So this is what I find so interesting. I mean, if I was CA, I'd be doing this the entire year. I'd be having content programs, working with content creators, modders, getting dev interviews, like whole content, social series of videos, etc., and look backs to go through the whole series for the whole year. In my point of view, this is an amazing opportunity to tap back into and reach out to those fans that have gone cold, especially the historical side of the fan base who've been who felt like they've been left behind and don't want to engage with Total War anymore, have been disappointed very much so by games like Troy, Pharaoh, Three Kingdoms, but they're confining it to August and November. And from what I can tell, that's about 16 weeks. And given there are almost 16 games in the franchise, we're basically going to go a period of a game a week. We're going to go from Shogun to Medieval to Rome, Medieval 2, etc., all the way up to Warhammer 3 at the end of November, and each week going through some video series, some interviews and competitions and etc., basically spotlighting all of what made that game amazing and why people who currently play them still play them, why they care, why they're so important, how they are still today's legacy of the franchise. Beyond celebrating the past, we plan on welcoming the future of Total War in a big way. Behind the scenes, we're in early stages of producing the 25th anniversary showcase, the first video presentation of its kind in our history. Taking place in early December, this show will unveil the new games that you can expect to play in the near and distant future, as well as introduce you to the development teams making them. So, if you don't know, CA have gone through a bit of a reshuffle. All the people who left the company, who were made redundant, Sophia being merged and kind of absorbed into the Warhammer team. Obviously, we've had the mainline historical team that have been quite silent and working away in the background at something we don't know. And so this show will unveil the new games that you can expect to play in the near and distant future, basically saying there will be a game announced that will be released next year. For sure, 100%. There will be a game coming out next year. And my best guess, personally, I think we've had a few years of Warhammer 3 already, and the DLC cycle has been very mixed overall. I think anyone would kind of agree, really, that there have been some bad eggs and some good eggs, of course, as well. That's what mixed means. But generally, it hasn't been amazing, and CA has gone through a lot of changes, obviously, like I just described. I think Warhammer 3 cycle is going to end. I think that the next game that will be coming out next year is going to probably very likely be Warhammer 40K. That's my guess. I think Warhammer 40K is next. They want to move on quickly, get the last DLC out of the way, which is, why there haven't been many DLCs this year. And this is going to be the biggest kind of big bang, let's do it justice and get out kind of DLC, in my opinion, and prepare, therefore, Warhammer 40K coming out next year. That's my guess. But of course, the other side of the picture is the distant future part of this sentence, which I have to say has to be historical. I think that Lord of the Rings is definitely out. Star Wars, I would be very surprised if it was Star Wars Total War, because it's just so out of the depth of design of how Total War works, really. And it would basically have to be a copy paste of like Empire at War for it to really work in this kind of Total War formula. And honestly, I think they're going to make a lot more gains if they do revisit and do a sequel to something like Medieval 2, so make Medieval 3, or a sequel to Empire with Empire 2. I mean, there are lots of other eras that they can do, but these are the two areas, the two periods of human history that people have been clamoring for a sequel for a very long time. And if they are trying to drum up nostalgia this year, touching on 25 years, reaching out to those fans who've gone cold, like I described, doing something like a Medieval 3 is such a golden goose. And it would be such an easy way to capture all of these people. It's a no-brainer. It's literally a gold mine, just as much of a gold mine as Warhammer has been, and Warhammer 40K, I think, would be. Really tapping into all of that, especially with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, with, Manor Lord success, being an indie game with lots of hype riding on it. You can really make it successful. Empire 2 could have exactly the same thing. I mean, we've had this huge announcement about the Kickstarter game Ahoy, which is this 17th century, 18th century rather, open world vision of banding naval ships in a gunpowder era, and sailing out there, making your name in the world, and there's a layer of strategy, of engagement, of battling, of course, as well, and battling with other players online. Like there, and that is an 18th century game, and it's hugely popular. I mean, it reached its Kickstarter goal in 21 hours, and it's more than 250% above its Kickstarter goal now, which is crazy. So these are eras of human history that can definitely reach a wide audience, and I think capture a lot of people who have left the franchise, as well as introduce you to the development teams making them. This is going to be quite cool to see as well. I mean, we've been hearing about the mythical historical mainline team who we've not seen in a long time. We don't know how big they are, what they're working on, obviously, all these years, but they're clearly working on something, judging by the various leaks and images that have been shared. There's definitely something brewing, right? And that's going to be revealed, I think, at the end of the year as a game that's going to be releasing in the distant future. I would pin at 2027 personally, but yeah, that's kind of my prediction. We'll have more details to share as we approach the end of the year, but whether you're a fantasy or a history fan, there will be plenty to enjoy. I think that the fantasy team will be much bigger than the history team. Still, I think that the history team will be bigger than we expect it to be. And it's only natural because history is still something that they're focusing on clearly through this message. We can see that looking back at the 25 years of Total War isn't something you're just going to skirt over if it's mostly history, right? So there's got to be a lot of focus on history. And they're clearly saying they're going to be doing another history game here. If you're a fan, strap yourself in. Could be Medieval 3, could be Empire 2, who knows, or other games. There are plenty of eras to touch on. But I do think that 40K or something fantasy related is going to be the big chunk of the effort and investment here. So yeah, the rest of this message is quite standard. More content is coming to Warhammer 3. Long-awaited content will be unveiled at the anniversary showcase, which I was wrong earlier. I'm just reading this now. Tides of Torment won't be the last DLC. This will be, in my opinion, I think it needs a big send-off if 40K is coming out. So Warhammer 3, big content, I think will be revealed and then released next year and then, share what they have planned for the future. And the rest of this message is basically, everyone else involved deserves celebrating as well. Total War wouldn't be anything without the devs, the players, the testers, and all of that. So just kind of celebrating that. So there you have it, guys. Join us for the Total War 25th anniversary celebrations. I think there's a lot of interesting, revealing little bits of info here throughout this message about what we can expect, literally in terms of, what this content program August to November is going to be like, games that they're going to be revealing at the end of the year, meeting the teams, how big the teams are, what they are, who they are. That's going to be quite interesting as well. And other things. I mean, I haven't talked about this, but CA looking back at all of their historical games is going to be quite revealing about how they feel about them, what they think about them. I mean, one of these weeks is going to be about Three Kingdoms. What are they going to say about Three Kingdoms without mentioning how they abandoned it? That's going to be quite interesting to see how they treat all these games, the ups and downs, like they say, the triumphs and tribulations, right? Are they going to actually be talking about those tribulations? That'll be very interesting to see, especially with games like Three Kingdoms, Rome 2, Attila with the kind of its unoptimized state. I think there's a lot that's going to be quite interesting and revealing to see about Creative Assembly in this period. So I'm quite excited. I don't know about you, but I'm very excited to see what this program is going to be like and how close to their chest CA is going to be holding their cards, or if they're going to be talking a lot more openly about some of these things, these topics, these games. Yeah, I'm quite interested. So yeah, that's essentially the end of the video for today, guys. I wanted to go through this message, tell you a bit about my thoughts throughout. The overall kind of feeling I get is I'm quite interested and excited to see how all of this is going to go, how they're going to celebrate 25 years. So yeah, that's essentially it. I hope it's been informative. It's been kind of podcast, kind of monologue style, but I've been quite honest. I've just gone through what I think is interesting about all of this, and I'm very curious to see what we might find out again in the near future. Hopefully, we get more messages and more insight into what all of this is going to look like in the next few months. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like, drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this announcement and the various messages that are shared throughout, the sentiment, what you expect out of the anniversary celebrations, what you think the two games that will be revealed at the end of the year will be. Yeah, let me know down below in the comment section below. I'm very interested to learn your opinion as well. Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. If you enjoyed this format of just talking at the microphone and seeing what happens, seeing what comes out, then yeah, do let me know. Subscribe to the channel for more and other videos, mod spotlights, and other game showcases, etc. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.